Hello, I'm Michael from Holy Spirit Activism. I'm here eating delicious raspberries and I'm thinking about atheism. Actually, over the last year I've been thinking a lot about atheism. What is atheism and why do people believe it? I've been listening to and watching hundreds of debates. I've joined so many discussions, reading books, reading articles to try to get a sense of what atheism is all about. And there are multiple definitions of atheism. The top one on Wikipedia is that it's a lack of belief in gods. And this is sometimes portrayed or described as weak atheism. Because it doesn't really make a claim on whether God exists. It merely describes a psychological state in a human being. This person lacks belief in God. In fact, it doesn't have to be a human being. I mean, this bottle probably lacks belief in God. At least it hasn't tried to convert me. YouTube humor. Anyways, I don't think that's a very suitable definition when talking about people who actually say there are no gods, or there's no evidence for God's existence, or there are no supernatural things. Obviously, those who deny the supernatural are naturalists. They believe that nature is all that exists, and that obviously includes strong atheism, the conviction, or I would say belief, a word that atheists don't like, that gods don't exist. Now, I am curious on why anyone would like to be a strong atheist or a naturalist for that matter. Why would you want to think that there are no gods and that there's nothing supernatural out there? The reason is when you deny the existence of gods or the supernatural, many different implications come with it. Many atheists will typically say that's not the case. Atheism is just about this one single issue: does God exist? And it doesn't involve a worldview concerning the purpose of life or what happens after death and where we're going, why we're here, what's moral, and so on. But still, most atheists have pretty strong views on those things. Now, to be fair, they don't all agree with each other. But I don't think that when Richard Dawkins writes that there is no design purpose, good or evil in the universe, he is making a statement out of his atheism, because a Christian would not say that and a Hindu would not say that either. It is an irreligious conclusion. And so I would say that denying the existence of gods have many different implications. And there is no purpose. We are not the result of a plan. We are happy accidents of nature and evolution by natural selection. There is no afterlife on naturalism, and the atheism that's popular here in the Western world, not the Buddhist atheism or the New Age atheism, but the atheism that people try to spread on atheist forums, really implies these things. And you also have atheists like Sam Harris saying that free will is an illusion. You have atheists who say that consciousness is an illusion. And I would say that also these are implications of their naturalism. Naturalism leads very logically to determinism. If there's no supernatural input in our system, in the universe, then it's locked and everything will happen as it goes, and there's no way for us to change that. So free will is just something we think we have. Usually not everyone thinks that we have that. it's not something that actually exists. And that, of course, has implications on rationality. How can you actually say that a person is rational if they can't make a choice to believe certain things? And, of course, morality. How can you say that people act morally right or wrong when they just act the way that they have to act because everything is determined? So, because there is no afterlife on naturalist atheism, atheism basically promises mass extinction to all human beings. Now, if you take atheism on one hand and Christianity on the other, and you're agnostic, you haven't decided what's true and what's not, just looking at what they entail and what they promise should make you feel that you want Christianity to be true. In fact, I think most religions are better than atheism if they were true. Now, that doesn't mean that they are true, necessarily. But that should lead us all to actively seek and want to find evidence for religious claims. This mass extinction is not a very good thing. When you lose a loved one, they're gone forever on atheism. Now, doesn't that mean that we're biased when we're looking at these things? I don't think so. Imagine that you're a doctor and you discover that your son or daughter might have cancer. Now, as a professional, you join the other doctors that look at his or her case, and you read the journals and you try to establish what's going on, and you clearly want your child to survive. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you will end up with the wrong conclusions. It just means that you're passionate about knowing the truth. Alright. Now, one final point. I was thinking about this when I was biking earlier today. What does the split between atheists and theists consist of? Why ultimately do we reach different conclusions when it comes to God's existence? As I said earlier, the naturalist atheism that's popular here in the West, and that's normally what we mean when we talk about atheism, entails that things like purpose and morality and free will are just things we imagine in our heads. It doesn't really represent any objective reality because they are not physical. It's not objects that we can study in a lab. They're abstract objects, they're ideas. And so when I've been talking to atheists, for example, about objective morality, meaning morality that's true, moral facts, independently on what we think about them. You know, even if the whole world would say, hey, killing Jews is right, it will still be wrong. If objective morality exists, then it's a moral fact that killing Jews is... Did I say wrong? I meant right, but now I mean wrong. In any case, I hope you get what I mean. So, when I was talking to some atheists about objective morality, some of them say, what's the evidence for objective morality? One of them talked about how William Lane Craig illustrates the existence of objective morality by saying if the Nazis have won World War II and convinced everyone that the Holocaust was right, it would still be wrong. And the atheist said, that sounds insane to me. And a similar case could be given for purpose. You know, if Christians point out that it's really only in a religious worldview that you can have purpose, the atheist might very often respond, well, what's the evidence for us having purpose. You just want it to be true, but you don't actually have any evidence of it being true. Here's what I think the fundamental difference between atheists and theists lie. I think it is that atheists deny beliefs they already have. Because when you leave the debate setting, when you walk away from your keyboard, you will ultimately live as if consciousness, purpose, morality, and free will exist. And that's not just hypocritical, hypocritic, hypotenuse. You know what I mean. It's not just a matter of hypocrisy. It is something that's deeply disturbing for the atheist cause, because then that means that when you're arguing that God doesn't exist, you're asking people to abandon beliefs that they have. And even worse, you're doing it while you can't do that yourself. This, I think, will lead to atheism's downfall. We live in a very special age, and naturalist atheism is more popular than ever. But I think that when people realize this, that this worldview that's presented before them is absurd and entails things that even atheist defenders themselves don't believe, then it only makes sense to seek God instead. Because I think it's obvious for most people, I mean, atheists are a very tiny minority globally, that there is a supernatural reality, that there is something divine out there that had us in mind, and we should do everything that we can to seek Him. Thank you for watching, and God bless you. Jesus, judge of the Bible.